I'll just introduce you to our panel that we've assembled at great cost. You know, we sought high and low a panel that we thought would be able to give us great guidance. We couldn't find anyone, so these guys will have to do. Ray Cox has been our race director since I think 1995, so a long time running effectively the parish walk. He himself was a competitor and a finisher in 1994. Young, actually I think was the youngest ever parish walk competitor. One time we allowed people as young as 14 to complete it.
15.
15 was it?
No, they allowed him at 15. But
you sneaked in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's rule number one, don't break. Graham set the record for the parish walk in 1971, obviously winning that year, and won it again 21 years later in 1992. He was our first Manx centurion, the walker to complete the 100-mile walk, and was fourth in the Commonwealth Games in 1974. So a regular competitor, 14 parish walk finishes. He's completed the UK Centurions Walk 3 times. He's completed the Dutch Centurion Walk, the 24-hour walk in France, 28-hour walk in France, and the South Africa 50-mile walk. So a 5 times parish walk finisher. Again, British Centurion, 2 finishes in the French 24-hour race. First Manx person to complete the Paris-Alsace race. That was last year, was it? 2020. You know, physiotherapist on the Isle of Man, ultra distance runner. From memory, completed the Radnafolian. Was that last year?
That was last year.
Last year, ran the whole of the Radnafolian. Whilst it's not walking, I think any ultra distance athletic event has similar traits. Dr. Biggett is here to perhaps give us some guidance of being a supporter in the parish walk. He's had the pleasure of backing up his wife Sue, who I think is in the audience, who is an 11-time finisher of the parish walk. And sometimes people say to me, being a support crew is harder than actually walking yourself. So we hope to hear from Matthew around that, and perhaps also some of the medical aspects which we may need to consider in competing in the event. If you don't know, it is IAAF race walking judge, was chief judge at the 2012 London Olympics race walks, and himself a parish walk finisher, and in his younger days a fierce competitor in race walking on the island. First of all, it is an endurance event. What should we eat and drink as we go?
You have to go with how you are and what you normally like and dislike, really. Obviously when you're exercising you get to a place where even the things that you really like you don't really want to eat anymore. Generally I tend to go for things that go down easier, and usually I go for warmer things at night like soup. So just a nice easy homemade, you know, lean potato soup or, you know, carrot soup, anything that you think generally you might like, quite plain tasting, and usually it just gives you enough goodness to keep you going, really. There'll come a point when you really can't eat much more, so if you can just keep drinking water, you should be fine. You know, try things that maybe you've not tried before to see whether you like them, because there's no point trying them on the day. If you're trying energy bars or like different soups and things, you know, try them first, make sure you do potentially like them, as much as you can in your car, to give you a lot of options when you're there. It's a bit of a nuisance for your backup, as my wife keeps telling me, but your mind changes all the time.
The biggest thing is it's a very individual thing, nutrition, because what I do is probably flies in the face of what most people are advised to do and do anyway. But whatever you do, train with it. So find out what you do, what works best for you in training. So your long walk of the week is the one where you can do your experiments, but experiment in training, don't try anything new on the day. I've got a sort of high-fat, low-carb diet. I do that because I can do 100 miles now on pretty much not very much food at all, because the fat that I've got stored inside me I can access easily because I've now trained my body to do that. For me, that works well because it means I don't hit the wall. For other people, it doesn't work. So I would never say what I do is right, what I do is right for me. And if it works, if what you do works for you, then it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, just stick with it. But the biggest thing to find out what works for you is to do it during training. Don't try anything new on the day.
In the morning, you know, like watermelon in the daytime is quite nice, but at night time it's too cold. So just a variety, and I usually pack them into little sort of portion sizes, so it's easier for my support crew to just dish me out one portion at a time. And
Again, have a wide variety of stuff, and as a supporter, don't be surprised if you get it thrown back in your face. And have something else available. One word of caution, a lot of these gels available, they give you a big kick, but if you overdo it, they'll give you diarrhea. And that's the last thing you want when you're going around the parish walls and suddenly have a trots. So just be cautious of that, and stay hydrated. That's the most important thing. Plenty, eat plenty, and as Andrew said, I think there comes a point when you really struggle. So eat while you feel you can eat, build it up, and if you can do what Ben does, I mean, if you can tolerate fats, I mean, I think that's probably a specialist person who's got to train to do that, but fat gives you a fantastic amount of energy.
Well, just as some alternatives to what's been said before, I think it's important what you eat the day before, and maybe the day before that, and what you've stored by way of whatever your diet is, if it's fat or carbohydrate. Basically, on the day, the people I've been working with recently have very little solid food, as in solid food actually takes energy away from you as you metabolise it. So they mostly have a minimum of solid food, enough that their body's ticking over, their stomach is not empty, but it doesn't have a lot of work to do in the way of digestion. To have arranged with your backup crew, to have regular punctuated intervals, whatever be it, however intensely you're doing it, you might be, if you're going flat out and you're at the top of the field, it might be every K. Cruising might be every mile. If you're taking it more casually, maybe every quarter of an hour or so. That's going to be different for everybody. But one of the things that Karen said about making your own drinks up from powder and making it very diluted.
yeah.
The last time I did the parish, Martin, the son, was my backup, and he mixed it. It'd be lovely weather up to the day of the parish, and the day of the parish itself it was freezing cold, and they were too diluted. But better that way than being dehydrated.
Oh yeah, I have lots of brown rice, brown pasta, chicken, vegetables, soup. I drink lots of water. I mean, I just drink water all the time.
How can I prevent blisters? I've done this before.
I think your term was worn in but not worn out.
Yeah.
And stick with that. Make sure it's a shoe that you're comfortable with. It's not too big, not too tight. And
Because of blisters, which is friction and pressure points. So working back from that, how do you minimise the effect of that? And as Steve says, be familiar with the shoes. But in my experience, I found that it can be very random, that you can get all that right, and then you've got the same type of shoe, you've broken it in, and same conditions, and one day you'll get blisters, the other days you won't. But has an alternative again to what Steve's saying about, you've got to get the balance right for yourself. If you use Vaseline, then you wouldn't really be able to do any sort of patchwork with, if you burst your blister, which I've tended to do, if you have a lot of blisters and you've got the time to do it, is to get some sterilised, maybe nail scissors or something like that, and get the juice out of them and stick them flat with zinc oxide tape. You wouldn't be able to do that. So what I found is that if I've had some pressure points, I'll do some heart strapping with zinc oxide on individual toes, but stay short of totally strapping the foot up, which other people do.
It's like some days you get them and other days you don't.
As I had blisters was, I think it was walking downhill. There's not too many downhill gradients on the parish course, but I think it's easy to maybe try and go too fast downhill, and you tend to find your feet slide forward.
I always get blisters. Depending on parish, it depends on how severe they are. But there's events you just have to accept there's going to be pain and there's going to be some discomfort.
There's a very good piece on the Parish Walk website written by the A&E staff about prevention of blisters that's been there the last couple of years. It's essential that people should read that, I think, because it's not just about avoiding blisters, it's about treating them and what to do. You know, don't go unnecessarily to A&E as well.
Yeah. Because blisters and skin problems are not just restricted to the feet. Yes, what clothing should I wear when I take part in the parish walk?
And I've seen it a few times where people go for a wee, basically, and this guy, I've never seen anyone wee as much as him. Now the thing is, with urine, it's very, very caustic, and it can be the #1 cause of chafing in the nether regions. So, from a bloke's point of view, if you're in a rush and you stop and you're a bit quick and you put everything away without quite finishing, it's worth changing, because if you've got too much urine that in a sweaty area, it will chafe.
Are you comfortable in? Something you prefer to spend all day and night in. Obviously have a change of tops, because the temperature will change, so you just probably start in a t-shirt, then you put more layers on, and you might take more layers off. Just make sure you've walked out in it, and you've been out in it and trained. I mean, I find that, particularly when you get tired and it's getting late, any sort of toggles, bobbles, chains, zips, they can sort of be annoying. Just make sure you're comfortable in everything that you've got on.
Be prepared to change frequently, because if you don't like the weather, the Isle of Man, wait 5 minutes and it'll be a different season, isn't that what it is? So it will change, particularly with the weather, and then the altitude going up the slot can be really cold, and of course hypothermia, getting too cold, is a bigger problem than being too hot. So be aware of your own temperature. You're sweating a lot of moisture. Be ready to change your top frequently. And on that subject, obviously be keeping your number on the outside layer. So maybe we might touch on the reflective bibs in a moment, but to wear your number on the outside, of course.
Gloves.
Yeah.
Gloves. A lot of people wear gloves. Nice fitting gloves helps prevent swollen fingers.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just ready to change into, because you can leave it in the car and not touch it, it's fine, but if it's not in the car, then you want something new, you can't.
On Parish Walk Day is that certainly Sports Direct have done very well in the weeks leading up to it, because everyone's out in brightly coloured brand new gear. But again, if you haven't tried that jacket or shirt or t-shirt on, and it is a spare in the car, and you grab it, you know, you could be asking for problems there.
Okay, now this one's fairly wide, but we thought we'd test the panel with their thoughts on what they think every walker should know.
Out of all the people put their hands up, whether you've actually done it before and whether you've got to rush into peel, to bride or anything. But if it gets really bad, don't be afraid to stop, because I remember one guy, he must have taken 6 or 7 attempts to get there, but his feeling when he finished was still the same, you know, it was still of elation.
We would see later on in the day people walking to schedules and then failing to make those schedules, and then the next thing, the mental thing just collapses. I think the mindset should be very much walk how you feel.
Very similar to Ray, actually. I'd say don't get sucked in to someone else's race. You know, if you're, I don't know, going up to Glendower because somebody is bombing up and you're trying to catch up with them because they may only be going to Peel, or you want to do the whole thing, I just would ignore everybody else and just walk how you feel comfortable.
So do your own race.
Yeah, because if your mind is strong, your body will be strong, and I think as long as you've got your mind and you enjoy it, then I think you'll.
It's simple, you can do it. You just have to think you can do it, and you can. We're all capable of it. You look at all the people that have finished, all the shapes and sizes, different ages. There's no reason why you can't do it. I slightly disagree with Steve, because obviously to walk 85 miles, it's not going to be easy. You can't say, well, I'm going to try that and it's going to be easy. You're going to have to put yourself through some pain. You're going to have to put yourself into a position that you've probably never ever been before.
Don't start too fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do not start too fast. There's such a buzz at the start. Don't start too fast. Go your own pace. Make sure, you will go through bad patches, so make sure your support crew know you will, and that they're always positive. Positive support crew will get you through. I'm afraid if you get separated from your support crew and you your mind's beginning to wander, somebody else might have a support crew. Grab some food from them. Try not to let especially if you're going all the way from Maccled home, going up the Hibernia, you're going to need your support crew. You need feeding for that climb up the Hibernia, and it's very tempting for the people that are supporting you to stop at Maccled Church and have a burger that's on offer there.
A lot of stuff for myself. I make sure my support crew have got enough food to keep them going for the whole day, so they're not nicking my stuff. But I also put in stuff for, just in case for other people as well, because you do sometimes find someone who, you know, might just need that banana or that bit of watermelon or a drink, and you know, I mean, 2008 in all that cold weather, that rainy one, I was begging cups of tea of just anybody.
Your number one.
Well, maybe not the number one, but just moving on from what Karen said, support crews, I think you're out there wearing the number, but it's a team event. You're as good as your support crew. You're the boxer in the ring, and you won't get through it these days competitively anyway without a good support crew who know your needs, know your moods, and you brief them beforehand. Having the confidence, as everybody sort of touched on it and using different words, to let everybody else go, walk your own race, be true to yourself. And these discomforts, there's a lot of unpleasant things going to happen out there, but they move around. You might have a sore back at one place, and you've got blisters in another place, you've got a headache somewhere else. But you get used to them, you live with them, and the discomfort may not go away, it may move around. I've always thought when I've got to peel, if I think about it, I'm tired. But if I put it out of my mind, then the rest of the way it's going to be no more than what I've done to peel. It's just people do at the church at the time in their head. That the challenge is that, can I get to the next church? But don't hesitate when you get there. Aim for the one ahead of that again and get the momentum going.
I try to put like focus on the process, not the end goal. Because I think if you stood on the start, thought, oh my God, I've got 85 miles to go, you'd scare yourself. Whereas if you think about the walking, eating, drinking, walking, eating, drinking, it just becomes a process that does take you to that end goal. So that's how.
What you've got to do is you've got to build a base level of fitness. You've got to get yourself in reasonably good shape, and then the rest is all like down to your head. And as Andrew said, you can do it. Everyone is capable of doing what their goal is, but you just have to be able to convince yourself that you're doing it. And yes, you can have bad patches, but you're all physically capable of achieving your goals. So I always think it's a split of about 35% physical, 65% mental.
Sometimes see people who should give up and don't, and we see people who do give up when they're more than capable of carrying on. So that mental thing certainly I would agree with. All about being the parish walk winner and crossing that line in whatever they do these days, 15 hours. It's mind-boggling really. But for some people, how to get a faster time is important.
The thing for everyone to remember is, and it's in the title, Parish Walk, how can I walk faster? It's making sure that we are walking. Been a bit of a sado, as it were, and as a judge, I see people out training, and I will shout to them, because I know they're not walking. Whatever they think they're doing, it isn't walking. The team of judges of which I'm part of will be out there on the day, and I like to think the terms we use, we judge to encourage, and we try to get as many people round to the finish as possible. Those with aspirations at a higher level will be judged a little stricter, and those who are taking the mickey will be judged very, very harshly as well. You're going to walk faster is by training. Go to the coaches. Graham is coaching athletes who have had great success. There's other coaches out there, but make sure that when you're talking to those coaches, they actually know what they're talking about as well. But practice, good practice will make perfect. I'm seeing people who I never thought would walk do rather well.
Down at the, we don't actually say down at the NSC. Third mate, sorry. So the dates are there, please do go along if you want to ask any questions.
That I can feel it in my shins, and people have mentioned shin splints to me.
This is one of those terms where people sort of latch onto a bit of diagnosis. It's basically just describes pain in the shin. So if somebody says, "Oh, you've got shin splints," it's don't think you've got something that's special. You know, it's just pain in the shins. It normally is an overuse injury, so it might be that you need to just drop either the intensity or the distance back a bit. It might be, sometimes it's cushioning, so you might be, I don't know what shoes you're using, whether they've got enough cushioning in or whether they're old ones or something like that, or it might be that you're landing where your feet are landing or not, it's not giving it the best sort of body.
In a full race walking technique, your toe should land high in the air, so you pulled that toe up. So the shin, this being your leg now, the shin has pulled that toe up and you roll on your foot so it's vertical. So it's going through a complete range of movement, the full arc, full spectrum that it can do. And when you land, it's already under pressure. So you're holding that toe up, there's not a great deal of base there. So that your shin is doing a heck of a lot of work. And the fact that you are feeling discomfort there is encouraging. Most race walkers, if they have a layoff, they have shin soreness. Generally it wears off the further you go. So even race walkers that are well conditioned, well trained, they change up the brand of shoe, can get shin splints, shin soreness.
Parish walkers to potentially take anti-inflammatory tablets to assist them as they walk around. Now, we're very grateful that Dr. David Walker, again an experienced parish walker, walker by name, walker by nature, has put this together for us. And again, I think this has been on the Parish Walk website, so please do have a read of that. But it's a warning, really, to avoid taking what's classed as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory tablets. Matthew, do you want to comment on that? Or?
No, I completely agree. Don't take them. You can get stress ulceration, of your stomach lining, so you can actually bleed. It's not uncommon for people to have an upset stomach afterwards. And the other thing is you can get an acute kidney injury, which is mentioned here, because they block the formation of prostaglandins, and prostaglandins are protected to your kidneys, and you're walking, you're likely to be dehydrated at times, and you really can seriously damage your health taking these tablets.